Just stand up for 1 minute. Everybody stand up. Let's get some energy moving in the space and just kind of stretch out a little bit, you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this a little imagination process, okay? We're going to imagine that we are the beach. We're right here next to this amazing Atlantic Ocean right here, right? So it's very easy to imagine and visualize the ocean. So imagine yourself on the beach, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna imagine the tide is out, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the tide in through our in-breath. And as we're drawing the tide in and up, we're gonna arch our back forward. So take your first draw in like this, and then let it out, arch your back out. The tide goes out. The tide comes in, arch out. Tide goes out, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Just imagine the water flowing over your spine, coming in and coming out as you breathe in and breathe out. Just take a moment here to drop in and really feel your body. Feel the ocean water bathing over your spine as you breathe in and out, forward and backwards. Breathing in, going forward. Breathing out, arching back. Breathing in, feeling the water come up your spine. Breathing out, feeling the water go up. All right. How's that feel, y'all? You feel any different? Feel anything? All right. Thank you so much for participating in that activity. Let's see. Do we have our slides? Okay, cool. Well, welcome again here to the North Florida Entheogenic Expo. I wanted to take just a quick minute to thank Dr. Lola and Kristen for having us out here. You know, let's give a big round of applause. I know they can hear us over there. Woo! Thank you, Dr. Lola. And also, this is my hometown, you know, and I never would have thought that I would be here on stage talking about cannabis and psychedelics with you all, you know. Growing up in the late 90s, all of this stuff was really, you know, illegal and hush-hush. So it's pretty amazing, and I find, like, in my evolution that now I'm on stage talking about psychedelics and cannabis. So I feel very honored and blessed to be here and to be speaking for the plant kingdom in that way, you know. But specifically today we're talking about EntheoBreath, the cerebral spinal fluid, DMT, and breath work. So this is one of my favorite things to share, and we're going to be dropping into how this is all connected when it has to do with psychedelics. We can go on to the next slide. So you already know my name, I'm Ankara. I'm a loving father. I'm a world bridger, psilocybin integration coach. I'm an entheogenic explorer, and I work with the breath, transformational breath coach. And so that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today, how we combine this breath work with the work that we just did a little sample of, cerebral spinal fluid. Okay, moving on. So what is the cerebral spinal fluid? This is a fluid that our brain is bathed in, okay? And they used to think that this was just like a little buffer to keep the brain protected when you bump into things or whatever, so it doesn't, you know, bash against your skull. But they found that your brain is not only bathed on the outside, but on the inside, in the cerebral cortex, there's three different areas. There's the ventricles, first, second, and third ventricle. And the third ventricle is the point that you see there in the middle, and this is where the pineal gland rests, is in this area. So your pineal gland, the outside of your brain, and all the ventricles are all bathed in the cerebral spinal fluid, okay? So we are actually fluid beings, just like they say, you know, the earth is 76% water. Human beings are also this water, but not just any water. We are the cerebral spinal fluid. So where does this spinal fluid come from? here I just wanted to show you a little diagram that not only is our brain bathed in the cerebrospinal fluid, our entire column there, our spinal column, is also bathed in the cerebrospinal fluid all the way down to one of the last vertices there. And so basically the whole entire nervous system, outside and inside as well, is bathed inside of this fluid, okay? So this is very, very important, and I wanted to share with you some of the purposes for the cerebrospinal fluid and where it originates. You can go on to the next slide. So this is a process called neurulation. Now when we're inside our mother's womb, we're floating in amniotic fluid, okay? So you start in water to begin with. And this amniotic fluid, your cell starts to form. This is the first cell that forms as a human, body or a human cell. And as you see, there's a neural fold. And this process is, interestingly enough, called invagination. Okay? So you get the point. This is all mother, right? This is invagination. When you're being born, you're being invaginated inside the womb before you even come through. And then when this cell forms and congeals at the top, you have this sort of O-ring. Now that amniotic fluid that you were bathed in inside of your mother's womb is sealed up inside of the first cell, and this becomes the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that our brain is bathed in the water from our mother. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes. Okay. And so we can go to the next slide. So if you think about this, the water, this amniotic fluid that comes from our mother's womb, that then forms the first cells of our cerebral cortex and our nervous system. This water came from our mother, but it didn't originate with our mother, right? So if we understand this process, you know that this water inside the womb came from the mother's mother, all the way back, okay? So we're talking about the original waters from our mother's great, all the way back. Every one of us was birthed inside this amniotic fluid. This amniotic fluid is very connected and related to the seawater. It's actually almost identical to seawater. So where did the origin of our mother's water come from? The ocean, the seas, all right? So why is this important? What does this have anything to do with breath work and anything like that, This is really important because the cerebrospinal fluid, number one, it serves many purposes. It acts to inform your neurological cells to basically give them information for what to do, okay? It also is a neurotoxin, so it goes into the brain cells and pulls out any toxins. As well, this is also a fluid that when you have a DMT experience, this is where the DMT is released, is into the cerebrospinal fluid, and then it's circulated. So what we want to do is we really want to circulate our cerebrospinal fluid, and there's several ways that we can do that. Go on to the next slide. Okay, this is a really short presentation. I do want to leave time for questions and some other things, but I wanted to share with you, I wanted this to be interactive so you can walk away with something that you can utilize. So this is some of the ways that we can actually get this cerebrospinal fluid circulating, and this is carrying the endogenous DMT that's in our body already. The endogenous DMT, the highest production of endogenous DMT is in the lungs, okay? So again, it's directly connected to the breath. When we breathe and we move our spines like this, we're actually circulating the cerebrospinal fluid, all right? So this is a practice that you can do with the breath and the spine, and get that movement in. So a lot of this has to do with intention, movement, and breath. These are your three pillars. These are key for your transformation. Okay? Any type of movement, whether you're a dancer, you're a weightlifter, you like to walk, however you want to move your body, when you do that with intention and then lock in with the breath, okay? You combine these three, you will start to see the transformation almost right away. So there's other ways that we can do this. We can do it through sound and vibration. We can sing. We can hum. Humming is an excellent way to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, okay? Can I get a time check? Or what time is it? How much time is it? Okay. I think I got about 10 more minutes. 11:20. Okay, I'm good. So just want to share with you that this is some of the ways that we can start to circulate the cerebral spinal fluid. And this is going to help cleanse out neurotoxins and things that we build up through the water and the foods and, even just breathing toxic air sometimes, inside the workspace. If you work in an office, those square spaces and the recycled air, a lot of time it's not living air. So we need this movement is what I'm sharing with you. So breath work is an amazing way to move the cerebral spinal fluid, as well as, like I said, dancing and anything that's gonna get your spine like wiggling around, you know what I mean? Everybody do like this with me. Feel your spine. Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it? So this is connected to Entheo breath, and this is my particular brand of breath work. And what this is tapping in with the holotropic breath work, and this is activated breath through the mouth. When we tap in with the parasympathetic breath work, we're using our nose, and we're doing long breaths just through the nose, okay? This is the comative rest and relaxation breath process. But if you want to tap in to a psychedelic state, an endogenous DMT state, we utilize these techniques that I call Entheo breath. And basically what we're doing is we're breathing strictly through the mouth. So you can imagine closing your nose off and breathing just through your mouth, and it's accelerated, activated breath. Now what this does is it taps you into the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, whatever it is, but it's that, the instinctive side of our nervous system, right? And a lot of people think that this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, it's necessary. We are overactivated or overstimulated into the sympathetic nervous system majority of the time because of traffic, because of demands of work and the family, right? So we get into those states and unregulated. But when you use this specific type of breath work that allows you to go into that sympathetic nervous system state, what it does is it activates the theta brainwave, okay? And this is the brainwave where we are just like sponges. We absorb any programming and we absorb what's happening around us. So when we tap into that state with the Entheo breath, we can go into the Akashic records, essentially is what this equals. And we now can choose a whole different program. We can cancel, clear, delete whatever is, programmed in the system, and then we have access to entire Akashic records. So we can go and grab new files and upload them into our system, okay? And this breath work also really activates the DMT, the endogenous DMT. So this is gonna get things flowing and movement in the system, and you're gonna be able to drop into a non-ordinary entheogenic psychedelic state after about 15 minutes of this sustained breath work. Okay, I like to combine it with breath retention as well, where we're building the energy, we're accelerating, and then we hold the breath. And that's where all the magic happens, is in that breath retention. It really opens up. So I just wanted to share that. I wanted to leave some space at the end for some questions, but I did also want to say, we got one more slide here. And this is some of my offerings. It's a little older in February, but I do have a men's retreat coming up at the end of the year in Costa Rica, and we're going to be utilizing some of these breath techniques and tapping in with the ancestors and going deep. I also do one-on-one coaching and integration. I make the crystal synergy ounce. You'll see me in one of the booths over there in the other room. I do custom crystal, magnet, and copper devices, energetic devices, if you will. I'm a transformational breath coach, so if you want to tap in with some of these techniques and utilize them for your transformation, this isn't just something we put on the schedule. This is something that we do for ourselves with intention, so that we can experience a transformation. And you don't even need to take a psychedelic or an entheogen. You literally need nothing but your breath. And I can teach you how to do that. So if you're interested in any of these offerings and work, you can reach out to me there. IG is a Cosmic Keymaker. Everybody take out your phone right now. Take out your phone. Follow me on IG, okay, Cosmic Keymaker, if you will. I'll follow you back, I promise. Just let me know that you saw me here on stage at the Entheogenic Expo, and I look forward to seeing you all. I think we got another minute or two here, so I wanted to go ahead and open it up for questions and see if anybody, had something that they wanted to share. Yes, ma'am. Masha.
Yes, thank you. So
Yeah.
for breath work,
Hi everyone, I'm Masha from ACS Laboratory. Thank you for sharing with us. So I've been hearing a lot about nose breathing when it comes to breath work, and so where you're just only breathing in your nose, out your nose, in your nose. And so I actually read that it cleanses your internal organs, and it does also release DMT. Do you know about that? Can you speak to that a little bit? Just nose breathing.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, there's two sides of our nervous system. We have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic is the rest, digest, comative. It is the nostril breathing, okay? So when you're breathing in through your nose and you're breathing in for longer than you're breathing out, when you breathe, let me get this right. Okay, so the nose breath is parasympathetic, calm, relaxation, right? The mouth breath is sympathetic, meaning that activating, fight, flight, or freeze side of your nervous system, which is totally necessary. We need this to survive, y'all. It's not just like you need your ego, you need this part of yourself to survive in this world, so there's nothing bad about it. It just gets to be regulated. We get to choose when and where we drop into those states. And so by utilizing this breath work, you can choose where you're at in your own journey. You can say, hey, I want to activate this morning. I'm about to go jogging, or I'm about to talk on the stage at the expo. I need to do some sympathetic breath work to get activated. I don't want to come up here all, zenned out and low energy or whatever. I want to activate. So there's different times and places for these types of breath work. So the nostril breath is parasympathetic, and when you're just using your nose, you're tapping in with that. What I wanted to say is the expiration. When your expiration is longer than your inhalation, that's also parasympathetic, okay, and vice versa. So there's a lot of different ways to manipulate the breath and to tap into these different activations or meditations. All right. Any other questions? I know somebody else wants to ask me something. Come on, y'all. Any other questions? Okay, we got two. Go ahead.
You said this was like holotropic breathing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so what's the typical duration of one of your sessions?
So my sessions are typically, I schedule them for 90 minutes. We're in the breathwork session for about 45 to an hour. Usually max is an hour. If you want more, we can definitely go deeper and do more because the longer you're going. But I also combine that with other forms of breath work. So for the first portion, we go in heavy in the holotropic, and then towards the end, we kind of land the plane and come back with some more parasympathetic breath work. So it's a combination of holotropic and other breath techniques, but also the breath retention. Breath retention is like a really key component of that. Sometimes people are like, don't get that not breathing can be just as powerful as breathing, So I hope that answers your question.
Do you do virtual, virtual group sessions?
Yeah, I do virtual group and private one-on-one sessions, so you can reach out to me at any time.
Thanks.
One more question?
Yeah, I've done very little breath work and really psychedelics also. So yeah, I've done very little breath work and also psychedelics, but I feel like obviously it takes you to a different place in your brain. I was just curious if there's any research that shows like what part of the brain might be activating. Are they very highly correlated? Are they a lot of similarities?
Yeah, there's a young man named Mauro Zapatera. I forgot to mention him earlier because he's actually the pioneer that did a lot of this research, and highly recommend checking out Mauro Zapatera. He's got a podcast on YouTube, and he really dives into a lot of this stuff a lot deeper. But they were actually doing some brain scans and things during meditations, and they were seeing what different fields of the brain would activate and light up. And it was so interesting that when they were doing this CFS breath work, cerebral spinal fluid breath work, that there would be like stresses going on in the brain, and then they would disappear, and a pulse of this, like it was like red, and then down here from the lower part of the brain, this little blue spot of energy would pulse out, and the red would just disappear, and it would go in cycles. So when you're doing this breath work, it's like pulsing in a cycle like that. You're sending these pulse signals to your brain. So it's very interesting, and I definitely recommend doing more research with Dr. Zapatera. Yes, ma'am.
I just make a comment, and it's kind of interesting. If you look up an MRI of a brain breathing, look also the autonomic regulation in the brain stuff. So essentially, by putting your attention on top, to your breath, you're actually creating a connection to the most primal source of your nervous system. Literally learning how to regulate it.
Yeah.
By getting it, and then getting better at doing it by practicing.
Yeah. That's right. The key here is just really regulating your nervous system, and having the techniques and the tools to be able to do that is really important. And the breath is just it's so essential and key to all of this, and it's one way that you can manipulate that. Last question.
More so, I wanted to see anything about breath work, helping compress spines.
I've heard how breath work can really help people with compressed spines create spaces between the vertebrae, and kind of help them step away from the potential of getting fused vertebrae. So I thought it was interesting that breath work could stimulate the spine in that way and open it up. And I like what she was saying about regulating the nervous system through breathing, because I was reading how when you do breath work, it connects and activates the vagus nerve, and how that's connected directly to the gut microbiome. So it's almost like through breath work, we can build a bridge to the gut microbiome, which is like the gut, they say trust your gut, and we have gut bacteria in there. So it could be a way to help us regulate even through the gut microbiome, and I really think it's interesting that you're bringing attention to this.
Appreciate you, and thank you everybody for hearing my presentation. I look forward to connecting with you outside here. Next up, we got my man Antonio. He's going to be sharing his magic and love. So if y'all will, give it up for Antonio. We got the first eye shades. All right, here we go, family.